I can't believe I'm finally saying this, but we're finally done with the PS1 games. Not just for Crash, but for anything I have planned. And now we can finally move on to consoles that are more powerful with more deep games. So what better way of starting off that PS2 era of my show with what is, believe it or not, the first game I've ever played on the system. Welcome, retro gamers, to take it or leave it. This is going to be interesting. What we have here is the first game I am covering on this show that I would go as far as to call divisive. There was a time where every critic did come together to say that this game was it's alright. But nowadays, we have a more diverse flavor in takes, specifically on this platform. Some videos talk about why it's bad, others say why it's good, and some talk about why it's just okay, while some are just bad reviews in general. For the first time in a while, we actually have a lot to talk about with the development of this game. After the success of the original trilogy in Team Racing, Universal, of course, didn't want the series to stop there, and why wouldn't they? Crash and Spyro are probably the most successful IPs they have ever owned. So what else to do than hire a new dev team to pump out a shitty party game and then move on to the next-gen consoles. Although Eurocom didn't stick around after that, thank fucking god, so now we have a new development team. Enter Traveler's Tales, a development team that made a bunch of licensed games on the PS1 and went on to make a bunch of games that both you and even your children played. What do I mean by that? Well, if I turn the name of this dev team into an acronym, this is what it becomes. If this logo still isn't familiar to you, then how about I just pull out all of these games on the screen? Yeah, that ringing any bells, bitch? Yes, the team responsible for the LEGO games that little Michael wants for his birthday also made a Crash Bandicoot game. 2 of them, actually. Shit's about to get interesting. Now, Traveler's Tales was very ambitious with this game. Originally titled Crash Bandicoot Worlds, TT Games really wanted to push the series forward and creating a new world more expansive and deep compared to the other areas from before. You were supposed to travel to entirely different planets with free roaming elements. This game sounds fucking sick. You probably want to go play it right now, in fact. Well, Universal Interactive came and basically ruined everything. These poor fucking developers had to make this game on new hardware that they didn't fully understand yet in a year. What the hell? The game was released on October 30th, 2001, where, like I said, the critics unanimously came together to say, it's alright. And the rest is, unfortunately, history. With all that in mind, what is my general takeaway for this game? It's alright. The best way to describe it is Crash 3, but worse. For what it's worth, I honestly feel sorry for this game and the people that made it. It's clear that what they were looking to accomplish was taking this franchise to new heights and really taking advantage of the PlayStation 2 hardware. It kinda breaks my heart that all of this ambition pretty much went to waste. All because Universal Interactive thought that making a video game on new hardware was easier than it really is. All I want to say is, fuck you, Universal. This game could have been great. I have no natural way to transition to this, but this is the first Crash game to be multi-platform. So while it was released on PS2 first, it did eventually come out on Xbox and GameCube. So what version of the game am I going to be playing? Well, for the sake of keeping things consistent, I'm playing it on PS2. But I'm not emulating this game. I actually went out of my way to buy an original PS2 copy. I then popped it in my region-free PS2, connected the video to my OSSC, and then connected that into an Elgato HD60S, and then recorded a 7.5-hour playthrough. This is about as authentic to the original experience as you can get. Although I'd say that the best way to play this game is either the PS2 Greatest Hits release or the original Xbox release for reasons that I will go over later, or just use PCSX2. So now that this long intro is over with, let's finally get into this messy package. Let's jump into our mech suit and walk over to Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex.
A Universal Interactive Studios production. Developed by Traveller's Tales. Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex.
After sitting through a 30-second long loading screen, we are taken to a space station. In this space station, Uka Uka is telling off Cortex and the crew for their repeated failures. I should note that it is widely believed that this game is meant to take place after 3, to the point where the Japanese release was called Crash Bandicoot 4. So apparently this is canonically the 4th game in the series. So does that mean that Team Racing and Bash aren't canon? Personally, I don't know. But let's just go with it. Alright, so this is a non-scripted part of the video because really, I just now kind of realized that it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that this does take place after 3, considering that, you know, the completionist ending is Cortex, Uka Uka, and Entropy all stranded in this fucking volcano area, right? Especially when, like, Cortex and Entropy are both babies in that ending, so it just kind of makes you think, how did they get out, and when did they get out? Because you'd think Crash Bandicoot and Coco would be like 40 by then, but no, the game completely ignores this, and the fans seem to ignore this too. Like, no one seems to question this except for me, so I don't know. Uka Uka demands them to come up with a plan to kill Crash once and for all. As it turns out, Cortex has been working on a new powerful super weapon. All he needs is a good power source, and it will be complete. Uka Uka suggests that they summon the Elementals to combine with Cortex's new super weapon. Meanwhile, Crash, Coco, Aku Aku, and Pura are all relaxing and having fun on the beach. But their fun doesn't last long as a dark cloud appears in the sky and causes a giant wave to knock Crash and Coco over. Aku Aku is suspicious of this being a scheme from Uka Uka. He confronts him as he sees that Uka Uka summoned this group of masks called the Elementals. These guys are going to help Cortex's super weapon to take over the world. But first things first is to get rid of Crash. Aku Aku rushes back to Crash and Coco to tell them about this and how they need to hurry and stop them. Luckily, Coco just so happened to have been working on an entire fucking warp room by herself. How? So she finishes the portals, and now it's all up to you to thwart Cortex and Uka Uka's plans. Oh yeah, and the secret weapon is a buff bandicoot named Crunch. To be fair, the story has a lot of great ideas and has potential. It could have easily been the best story in the series. Could have. Because while the story works really well in concept, in execution, it kinda blows. Just about all of the great ideas were executed in a pretty meh way. Crunch is a great idea, as he is what Crash was supposed to be in the first game before he escaped from Cortex Castle. But take that backstory away, and what we are left with is a character that just wants to kill you. And while Kevin Michael Richardson is a talented voice actor, his performance as Crunch in this game is just overall pretty bland. Crunch is not a bad character, but he could have been a lot more interesting. The Elementals are a way bigger misstep in comparison. Like Crunch, they are a great idea that adds in some world building to the Crash universe, but in execution, these are some of the least intimidating bad guys I have ever seen in a video game. They all are about as threatening as a group of 9-year-olds.
Don't copy our hiding place, or I'll shoot you.
To bring voice actors back into discussion, you'd be surprised to see who voices these group of trick-or-treaters. So get this, Rocco is played by Thomas F. Wilson, who is Biff from Back to the Future. Wawa is played by Arlie Ermy, who is the fucking drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket. Pyro is played by Mark Hamill, who is Luke Skywalker, and finally, we have Lolo, who is played by Jess Harnell. Nowadays, the least out of place, as he went on to voice Crash himself up until 2019. In fact, Coco is a new voice actor, as this is the debut of Debbie Derryberry as the character, by far the most iconic take on her character, and deservingly so, as she does a great job as Coco and continues up until 2019. On the topic of voice acting, Clancy Brown returns as Cortex in Uka Uka, and he's fine. Definitely not as good as his performance in 2 and 3, but it's still okay.
I'm gonna rip your balls off so you cannot contaminate the rest of the world!
Enough about the story, because it still really isn't that deep at all. This is a Crash game after all. What is this game like as a platforming experience? Explaining Wrath of Cortex's gameplay is a bit of a weird case, because when it comes to summing up the overall package, it's the third game, but worse in just about every way. So I will try my best to justify why I feel this way, because while there is a lot of good in this game, there is also a lot of bad. The controls are pretty good. Jumping feels good, spinning feels good, all of the power-ups from 3 return, and they are also pretty fun to use, along with you getting up even faster from body slamming. I think they just about nailed it when it comes to how it feels to control Crash in regular platforming stages. The only mechanic in the base controls that doesn't feel quite right is the slide move. Don't get me wrong, it's fine, but compared to the slide in 2 and 3, it feels quite lacking. This slide just doesn't feel as good to use, and the slide jump, body slam, and crawl are the only moves you can do with it. Whereas in 2 and 3, you can do a slide spin and a slide spin jump. That, and it feels slower and floatier compared to the quick burst of speed from before. But that's nothing compared to how pissing useless the sneak mechanic is. The new power-up of the game, and it is so terrible. You hold L2 and tiptoe across a line of nitro crates very slowly. I can see what they were going for here, giving you new ways of getting around nitro crates and such. The issue is that it's way too slow and restrictive. That's not even the last slow mechanic here, because the next is a returning one from 2 and 3. The monkey bars. Oh my god!
Traveler's Tales, can you please tell me what you guys were smoking, because I fucking want some.
No matter how you feel about this game, you cannot excuse this. Just look at the difference here. What drugs were they taking? The main gameplay overall is the same as before. You get levels in each section, and you were tasked with getting a crystal and gem and shit. Well, gotta go back, and there we go. You have to get a crystal and can also get a gem. You break all the boxes to get it, yada yada, you do death routes, yada yada, color gems, yada yada yada, and of course there's the relics. The formula in general has been slightly tweaked. This is the first game in the series where you can get a box gem in every level on your first go, whereas before you couldn't do that. Personally, the backtracking in Crash is something that I can take or leave, but if you are someone who doesn't enjoy the backtracking, then I guess this will appeal to you? It's not like their changes made the gameplay worse, it's more how they stumbled a lot more than they should have while translating the formula from 2 and 3 to the 6th generation. I mean, if you thought Crash 3 didn't have a focus on level themes, you haven't seen nothing yet. There's so many one-off vehicles that it's not even funny. Although at this point I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's just save that discussion for later, shall we? So now let's move on to the time trial relics. Yeah, even those were screwed over a little. They can still be fun, and the flying stages actually get time crates now, but why are some of the gold relics so hard? The difficulty from Sapphire to Platinum from level to level from before stayed roughly the same, but here, boy, it feels like they just stuck the levels in a roulette just to choose which ones were gonna have more unforgiving relic times. There's almost nothing worse than spending a lot of time on doing your best to speed through a level after so many deaths, only to be greeted by a fucking Sapphire. But then you realize that you were just a few milliseconds off from receiving a gold.
And that did happen to me. twice.
The idea of not getting a single sapphire in this game just seems way too hard and annoying to pull off. And that's just some of the gold, not just the platinum. The gold. There are some levels where I barely made mistakes and still got a sapphire or a gold, while I made tons of mistakes in other levels and still managed to get away with a platinum. Guys, do you want your game to be hard or not? Luckily, there's no secret gem or completion percentage locked out from the different relics this time, so that's nice.
It's almost as if they knew the times were inconsistent.
Oh yeah, and the gold and platinum relic for Gold Rush is so hard that you straight up need it to perform a glitch to get either of them. You use damage invincibility frames to walk in midair, a very prominent glitch in the game, to skip the slow-ass monkey bars, and even after doing this multiple times, I still didn't even manage to get a gold fucking relic. Why? And this level is very long too. What about some more infamous parts in this game, like the loading? The loading in the original PS2 release of Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex is not that bad.
Is what I would be saying if I wasn't gaslighting you, which I totally am. Ah! Got you!
Yeah, no, the loading in this game is bad, and I mean very, very bad. Every single one of them is 30 seconds, and I mean every single one of them. If you want to be an annoying twat, you can say that it doesn't sound that bad, but all you need is like 5 brain cells to realize that a 30-second loading screen for both entering and exiting a level that you'd be spending 5 minutes in is, pretty fucking bad, yeah. Let's just say that you spend 5 minutes in each level. That leaves you with about 2.5 hours of gameplay without going for any optional content. Sounds alright. But then we need to take the loading into account, and you'd be spending an entire minute getting in and out of a level combined. So, you take that minute and stretch it out for the main adventure without boss fights, by the way, and that leaves you with 25 minutes of loading! Almost half an hour staring into this colorful void. And that's without the boss fights. So if we include them, that actually does extend it to a full half hour. It's insane. Since I went out of my way to complete this game for this video, I am abso-fucking-lutely convinced that about an hour and a half of my gameplay was just staring at the loading screens, waiting to use my controller, which is about 20% of my time. That's how bad they fucking are. I could have easily fixed this issue by playing this game in literally any other way, but I chose to do this to hammer home with just how unfairly rushed this game was. I mean, really, my point is that platformers will always be the worst types of games for long loading screens. Always have been, always will be.
It may sound like I hate this game when I really don't. Truth be told, even if the issues do annoy me, I think this game's gameplay is fine. It keeps a lot of what made Crash fun from before, and I respect that. There's definitely a lack of polish, but it's not bad.
Now, level design is when things get a little bit more positive, because the classic platforming levels are actually very fun. These are honestly some of the best levels in the series. There's so many inventive platforming challenges that are fun to overcome and are easily the best parts of the game. You can even play as Coco in some of the levels now. Obviously, this isn't that cool anymore, but at the time, having Coco fully playable like this would have been awesome. Now sure, she doesn't feel as good to play as, but she still controls pretty decently. Some of the vehicle levels are also pretty cool. The ball rolling stages are without a doubt the best ones. With them being fully momentum based, you can smash through a ton of crates while going really fast at the same time. It's really exhilarating, and I'm glad that this is the most used vehicle level in the game. This minecart section at the beginning of Compactor Reactor is very fun, and can even be challenging. But alas, my praises towards this game's levels comes to a close, because now it's time to start bitching again. Actually, I have a complaint towards the last two things I just praised. The ball rolling stages are great, but are also the only times where the returning bad guys can attack you. So if you got excited seeing Entropy, Dingodile, Engine, and Tinyback, well don't, because this is all that they are here for. Not even Engine is used in these levels. They could have easily used them for the boss fights, but no. They didn't. They just didn't. Wow. As for the minecarts, they are unfortunately used in a bad way the second time around in the level of Ghost Town. This is one of the hidden levels in the game, and you can beat the level without touching the controller once. In fact, the time where I lost was when I moved around to get the box gem. How ironic. So that level is quite trash. There's also an overabundance of flying levels. This game has 4 levels that involve flying, which is more than what 3 offered. These levels aren't bad, but they aren't good either. They're pretty boring and aren't anywhere near as hectic as they were in 3. Also, the big part of this game's marketing, along with what ended up on the front box, is this mech suit that's only in 2 levels, and wow, it fucking sucks. It's basically another bazooka where you hold down square to aim and let go to fire. It's not too bad, it's very awkward and irritating to use though. Oh yeah, and there's this piece of shit Jeep that is so bad to control that I'm convinced that getting the box gem is almost impossible to do while going at full speed. I always go very slow here, and even then, I still mess up. All of what I've complained about aren't really massive problems, except for that fucking Jeep. Most of the vehicles are fine. The key word is most. There is one exception to this that is so bad that I had to leave it for last. The fucking underwater levels. Ugh! These are some of the worst levels I have ever played in a platformer. Why are they so bad? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's get into it. Problem 1! Screen crunch. Never thought I would experience screen crunch in a Crash game, but hey. Now that these levels are bigger than ever, that means that the aspect ratio is too small to keep track of crucial information anymore. Very easily you can be blindsided by an enemy, particularly these fucking mines, that come out of nowhere giving you barely any time to avoid them. Problem 2! The submarine! Who the hell thought that this would make the level fun? In this stupid piece of shit yellow trash with clunky projectile attacks and are now a bigger target with no increased health to combat this. This makes playing through these hellholes even worse. Problem 3! They're too long! These levels feel like they just go on forever, which makes both of the frustrating elements even more frustrating. Just fuck these levels, beat them, burn them, kill them, bury them. With all that, Wrath of Cortex's level quality is quite hit or miss, as you can see, whereas the boss fights are just meh. All of them are crunch, but luckily each encounter is different from one another.
In general, these boss fights can be decent to good, except one. The final one. It's terrible.
Oh my god, this one's so bad. It involves the ball rolling mechanic, and this is the one part of the game where it's not fun. So you roll around this bowl-shaped arena, a pain in the ass to roll around due to the physics, and bump into these rocks to set on fire and hit crunch. Sounds simple, but it actually is not fun at all. He can set those rocks on fire too, and cancel out your flames, and while you can do the same to him, you actually end up taking damage while he bumps into the rocks unscathed. Cause that's fair, along with him being able to ram into you, and again, the bowl-shaped arena that's annoying to navigate around, and you got yourself one of the worst boss fights in the series. It's not hard or anything, I don't even really die to it, but it's still just very unfun. The second boss is... okay, I lied, this one sucks too. While this isn't as bad or frustrating as the last one, boss 2 is just pathetic. You platform your way over to Crunch to spin into him, and you repeat that 3 more times. That is seriously all that you do. Yeah, there are attacks you have to dodge, but they are so laughably easy to dodge that it's not even worth mentioning. But hey, at least you get the double jump and not the fucking sneak shoes. Boss 3 is easily one of the better boss fights in the game. Crunch chases you with his fireball throwing powers. He gets tired, so you jump into this water shooting mech as you chase him until you hit him with the water. Each phase has more and more fireballs to dodge, and can get pretty tense by the end. This boss fight's pretty good. The fourth one is alright. It's like Engine's boss fight from 3, just way less good. Every time Crunch attacks you is when you can hit him, as that's when his skeleton gets exposed. It is kind of fun and does require some level of focus, but lacks the fast pace from Engine's fight in Warped.
But in my very, very unpopular opinion, this is at least better than Engine's boss fight in Crash 2. If you really hate the fact that I said that, then just pretend I didn't say anything.
The last boss is called Crunch Time. It's like they were trying to tell us about the hell they endured while making this game. This is the best boss in the game without any question. As Cortex is doing something, Crunch is jumping on buttons that activate the elementals to attack you with their powers once more. It's a good challenge and uses all of the masks in a cool way, and managing to finally give Cortex the ass-kicking he deserves is the cherry on top. It's not that hard, but you can trip up if you're not paying attention. Wrath's boss battles are alright, but are not as good as the bosses from 3.
Do you know what also isn't that great? The graphics.
This game doesn't look bad, but it also doesn't look good. The character models are kind of uncanny looking in retrospect. They don't look quite as bad as Bash's character models, but they still look really strange. The animation, though, that's a whole other thing. Just look at the cutscene animation from 3 and compare it to Wrath of Cortex. The difference in expressiveness and fluidity is night and day. It even extends to the environments, where some may look pretty good, others lack detail and appealing art direction. Bash may have looked worse than the Naughty Dog games, but at least the art direction looks nice. Like I said, the visual presentation isn't bad, it's just really bland. And yes, it is quite embarrassing that the games from a much weaker console look better and more natural than a game on more powerful hardware, but I've seen worse. Plus, this game does run at a very smooth 60 FPS, which is very awesome. Hell, this game, when it comes to original hardware, seems to run better than a lot of the PS2 games in my collection. Now, the mediocre graphics might be a compromise for the 60 FPS performance, but it's still cool to see.
I can't think of a natural way to transition to the next bit, but let's talk about the soundtrack.
For a game as mediocre as Wrath of Cortex, the soundtrack is disturbingly phenomenal. I absolutely mean that. These are some of the catchiest, fun, and memorable pieces of music I've ever heard on a platformer. Like, no joke, I think this might be my favorite soundtrack in the series. It's that fucking good. Andy Blyth and Martin Joustra are responsible for this soundtrack, and they have worked with Traveler's Tales to create music for a lot of their games in the past. I haven't played any of Traveler's Tales' PS1 Disney games, for example, but I have heard music from those games, and they seem to have a great track record for video game music. this is just a fantastic soundtrack that I enjoy listening to all the time.
But you know what they say, all good things must come to an end. So let's talk about the end.
After beating Cortex the first time, Uka Uka says that Crash doesn't have all the gems and relics, they can bring back the elementals anytime they want to destroy Crash once and for all. So you sit through a very weird credit sequence, and now it's time to get the relics and the rest of the gems. We do all that and defeat Cortex again, and now that they can't bring back the elementals, Uka Uka acts like a short-tempered dumbass and tries to shoot Cortex in a room with a ton of delicate equipment!
Uka Uka went from being a cool, powerful presence to an angry moron, and believe you me, it's gonna stay like that for the rest of the series.
Of course, Cortex dodges the fireball, and the fireball shoots something that causes the space station to explode.
It might be wise if we made our way to the escape pods. This is all your fault!
Oh my god, you actually need to shut the fuck up. Oh yeah, and it turns out Crunch wasn't manufactured to be evil, he was just mind-controlled. Bit of a cop-out if you ask me. Crash, Aku Aku, and Crunch escape with Coco in her spaceship. Crunch thanks them for freeing him, and just like that, we have a new main character. But Coco does have a question for Aku Aku.
Do you think that's the last we'll see of Dr. Cortex and Uka Uka?
I'd like to believe that, my children, but somehow I doubt that very much.
Idiot! Fool! Nincompoop! You've landed us in the middle of nowhere! Ouch! Whoa! No, wait! I can explain! Ah! I'll get my revenge, Crash Bandicoot! Just you wait!
That was the end of Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. It's okay.
This is a bit of an awkward entry, because there are a lot of good things here, but equally a lot of bad. It seems to try way too hard to be like 3, but without enough dev time, they inevitably were not going to achieve that. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I feel very bad for what Traveler's Tales had to endure here. This game could have been so much more if Universal just backed off and let Traveler's Tales make the game that they were clearly willing to make. As a result, we are left with a game that can be fun but is let down by a lack of focus and bad loading screens. On the scale of quality, I'm giving Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex a 5 out of 10. Give it a try.
I hope you all enjoyed this video because I enjoyed making it. This is the first time I've ever recorded off of a console, and I am pretty happy with the results. Now, if some of you are longing for more Spyro content, then you're in luck, because next we review the next game in that series. As for Crash, we will return to that series after that review. This was Max Rab, you just watched. See you on the other side.